It's a dangerous time to be a banking executive in Japan. The Japanese asset bubble has just burst, and with it brought down some of the largest banks in the world. As they begin to announce bankruptcies and foreclosures, more and more people lose their houses and become homeless. The government steps in and pumps billions into these mismanaged banks to save them, but the people are left in the cold. The public outrage is growing, and bank officials have become public enemy number one. And although they will feel some pain, it doesn't stop them from plotting something big behind the scenes. And out of it, an empire will be born. Two banks in particular, previously considered rivals, turned this crisis into opportunity and seized control of the chaos.
Sumitomo Corporation is one of the world's leading investment and trading companies.
Today, their tentacles spread beyond their banking services, extending deep into the entire world economy, running the financial sector, the energy sector, the healthcare industry, entertainment, and even retail. What started out as a copper smelting company has grown into a $2.1 trillion behemoth.
SMBC is the fourth largest bank in the world based upon assets.
They now control part of every sector of the world economy, sitting side by side with Blackrock, Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, and Deloitte at the World Economic Forum. They're not just a conglomerate, they're the Blackrock of Japan. And if you have never heard about them, there's a good reason why.
God, I wonder who that is. Who the hell comes so late? Can I help you? Take whatever you want! I have money! I've got lots of money!
Masatomo Sumitomo is a mystical figure. Even today, his teachings still guide the doings of SMBC. His career starts in a non-traditional way. Here. But there's something inside of him that draws him to the forbidden. The thing that Buddhist monks usually don't have last time that I've checked. Money. In the bustling town of Kyoto, Masatomi sets up a shop to sell medicine and books. Little does he know, he will soon make a discovery that will transform his business, making it last for centuries. Rimon Soga, Masatomi Sumitomo's brother-in-law, learns Western methods of copper refining.
They started the business copper mining. It continues for more than 430 years.
But there's something special in the copper mining business: silver. Sumitomo's brother-in-law, Rimon Soga, develops an efficient smelting technology to extract silver from copper, something that was not possible before with Japanese technology. A technology that will transform their brick-and-mortar store into a trillion-dollar conglomerate, with profit margins fatter than venture capital bro egos. SMBC goes on massive expansion. They spread into textiles, sugar, and their initial trade, medicine. But Sumitomo's hunger extends beyond just trading.
Trading is purchasing the products from somebody and selling the products to somebody. It is not produced by yourself. Sumitomo business principle banned such easy money gain. You have to utilize your own strength to get the new value, creating the products and delivering to the society.
Soon they start acquiring and developing larger copper mines in Japan, and the more they do so, the bigger they become, until they are a real Zaibatsu. The most powerful conglomerates in Japan are referred to as Zaibatsus. A Zaibatsu is typically controlled and owned by one family. In typical conglomerate fashion, it has one big holding company that owns multiple smaller subsidiaries. For 200 years, they dominate the copper smelting business, acquiring smaller businesses in the supply chain. But the path to building a century-long legacy is not easy, and what goes up must come down. If you are a solopreneur or run a company, you should have a YouTube channel. It's a much cheaper way to get your message out there than paid ads for your products or services. Over the past year, my company has built more than 10 YouTube channels, and we can build and run a channel for you too. We take care of everything: video ideas, scripting, editing, making sure you get lots of views. You just have to hit record. Already have a channel and want to do it all yourself? No worries, we also do channel audits where we analyze your channel in detail and tell you how to 10x it. We are booked out for the next month, but you can join the waitlist and we'll reach out to you. Click the link in the description below and let's build a successful YouTube channel. Oh, and if nobody understands what your business is about, we can do pretty sexy explainer videos too. An uprising is taking shape in Japan. There's an increasing resentment against the ruling Tokugawa government, and by extension, Zaibatsus like Sumitomo that support the government. Japan plunges into chaos. A new order is established. Japan is now led by an emperor, Meiji. This complete power reshuffling will be referred to as Meiji Restoration. The only question is, what role does Sumitomo play in this new order?
And after Meiji Restoration, Japan started modernization of the country itself, and part of which Sumitomo played a very important role by copper mining operation. Introducing the high technology from overseas, we modernized the copper mining itself, enlarging the operation of the copper mining. Then we expanded the business.
The massive Zaibatsus are confronted with a once-in-a-conglomerate lifetime opportunity. All state-owned businesses that were run by shogunates were sold to the highest bidders. And from my former business partners in China, I know that this was an excellent time to make billions in Japan. Sumitomo takes its piece and buys some state enterprises, especially those in the mining industry. Under Sumitomo's Director General, Taigo Iba, they begin diversifying into a must-have for every conglomerate that's looking for ultimate power. Iba sets up a banking division in 1895 and calls it the Sumitomo Bank. The dynasty's hopes lie on this bank to bring them global power and the money that comes with it. But business is war, and one of the biggest battles is coming up, quite literally. There is a law that says that if you have watched this far, you need to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. So I'm afraid you need to subscribe, unfortunately. And now enjoy the rest of this epic story. The Allies have won the First World War and Japan has emerged victorious. Sumitomo Bank begins to expand, spinning off some of their departments into new companies. They begin running hostile takeovers and growing even more. Billionaires like Carl Icahn are big fans of hostile takeovers. They are an excellent tool to grow your money and power, especially if you lack empathy for the other side. It's a type of acquisition where a company, the acquirer, takes control of another company, a target company, without the approval or consent of the target company's board of directors. That's typically done with either tender offers or so-called proxy fights. But similar to Carl Icahn, Bill Gates or Kevin John, SMBC soon faces the anger of powerful regulators. By the 1930s, the wealth gap between Japan's top 1% and the rest of the population is so wide that wealthy Japanese Zaibatsu members are in a league of their own. The government may want to dissolve the large conglomerates, but they need them to provide resources to the Japanese military ambitions.
As you know, World War II, Japan was occupied by US government, and we were told to unbundle the group companies itself, because one of the reasons why Japan and US had come into the battle situation, Zaibatsu played a financial role to support the Japanese government.
It all seems to be going well for Sumitomo at first, but immediately after the Sino-Japanese War, a new law is tabled. This law gives the government control over civilian organizations, strategic industries, and even the news media. The Sumitomo family is stripped of its wealth. On top, their assets are decimated by the war as well as the government intervention into the financial markets. But if they think they've seen the worst of it all, this is just the beginning. Because when Japan attacks the USA at Pearl Harbor, all hell will break loose. On September 2nd, 1945, Japan is brought down to its knees, and with it, the Zaibatsus.
It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge.
After the surrender, Japan is occupied by the Allied powers who view Sumitomo and other Zaibatsus as the main catalyst of Japan's unwavering rampage in the World War. They impose a series of anti-monopoly laws that break down the Zaibatsus into hundreds and even thousands of smaller companies. They go so far as forbidding the use of their former names and restrict them from engaging in cross-ownership of stock.
It was banned to utilize the name Sumitomo upon occupation by US government.
The Sumitomo Bank is disintegrated and reorganized as the Bank of Osaka. How to cripple a powerful dynasty? Firstly, impose a 85% tax on all taxable family assets. Secondly, do not allow to withdraw their money from banks until after a few years. Thirdly, wait for Japan's hyperinflation to eat into their money and do the rest. Fourthly, and most importantly, force them to join the working class and earn a living like a normal plebs. You would think that the story ends here, but the villain arc is just about to begin. World War II was the catalyst that brought the economic miracle of Japan. Because of the war, the Japanese economy transforms into a modern economy. They begin embracing foreign technology and emulating the Western economic models. And in 1952, after the complete dissolution of all Zaibatsus, the occupation authorities leave Japan. Any Afghanistan veteran knows what happens next.
Back in 1952, we were allowed once again to utilize the Sumitomo name.
Anti-monopoly laws get relaxed, and with a blink of an eye, the Sumitomo Group is reformed, with the bank becoming the main holding company once more. The resultant informal conglomerate is now known as a keiretsu. The main difference between a Zaibatsu and a keiretsu is that these keiretsus are now owned by shareholders. And this is when a Japanese empire builder steps into the limelight, Shozo Hotta. Shozo Hotta is credited with transforming Sumitomo Bank from a family bank into the modern Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. How does he do this? There's different leadership styles in business, and Shozo Hotta's is what we call authoritarian leadership style. Something that quite honestly I have witnessed quite a lot at some of the best startups that I worked with as an angel investor. It does not create a friendly work culture, but for the bottom line, it totally works. More lending, more investments, more growth. Mazda has invented a new combustion engine. It's more efficient than the piston engine in that it uses rotors instead of pistons. So Mazda approaches Shozo at Sumitomo Bank for funding to mass produce their new invention. They get the funding, but as any semi-professional mechanic knows, the Wankel rotary engine does not become a big success. On the contrary, it almost brings down the entire company. It is in these moments that true character shines through, and authoritarian Shozo makes a decision that might surprise some. Instead of dropping Mazda and abandoning the company, Shozo only pulls them closer and personally supports them in their reorganization. Japan's economy is about to take off and a buyer's market is emerging. Had he tried to cut losses by permitting the company to go bankrupt, the bank would almost certainly have lost major clients to competitors. But now they skyrocket until they meet McKinsey. While the bank has already established itself as the largest bank in Japan by deposits, its industrial base in Kansai begins to deteriorate. Once more, Shozo Hota is tested and his search for an answer drives him to the US consulting firm McKinsey & Company. McKinsey comes back with their diagnosis. The bank is too bureaucratic, which slows down the chain of command and leads to poor customer service. They propose a breakdown of the bank into semi-autonomous divisions that will run without the bank's president's interference. The bank is divided into 4 divisions, one of them the international division. And it's this division that will give Sumitomo the international power that it has today. They purchase Swiss Banca del Gottardo in February 1984, which becomes the leading Japanese bank in foreign markets, a small outpost that will help them grow an empire. Komatsu is the current leader of Sumitomo Bank. He will attempt one of the most epic business moves. But first he casually merges Sumitomo with Heiwa Sogo Bank, a bank that operates 100 branches that close at 7 p.m., 4 hours later than other banks. The merger catapults Sumitomo as Japan's second largest city bank, next to Daiichi Kangyo Bank. With the local market conquered, Komatsu now goes for the big English-speaking fish. In a move that would have seemed impossible, Goldman Sachs announced a landmark deal with Sumitomo Bank. The Japanese conglomerate would invest $500 million into the firm, becoming a limited partner. Sumitomo's initial holdings are debt predominantly, but they convert into a 12.5% equity stake eventually, and allow Sumitomo to share in the annual profits of Goldman Sachs. Sumitomo Bank has finally arrived on the international scene, but they are about to face the biggest giant, the US government.
Now, you may not have noticed, but exactly 20 years ago, the Asian financial crisis hit, exposing the weakness of so-called Asian tigers. The headline, "The East Asian Economic Miracle was no more."
The growth of Japan's economy from 1950 to 1990 has been cited by many as an economic miracle, but even the greatest orgasms have an end, and this one comes with the beginning of the lost decade. By the late 1980s, the Japanese economy experiences an asset price bubble of a massive scale. As economist Paul Krugman explains, Japan's bank lent more with less regard for quality of the borrower than anyone else's. In doing so, they helped inflate the bubble economy to grotesque proportions. The Bank of Japan tries to keep inflation in check and sharply raises interbank lending rates in late 1989. All hell breaks loose. It causes the bursting of the bubble, and the Japanese stock market crashes. Equity and asset prices fall, leaving overly leveraged Japanese banks and insurance companies with books full of bad debt. What follows are bailouts, consolidations, and a GDP growth of only 1.14% annually from 1991 to 2003. Sumitomo Bank, being the third largest bank in the country, is hit hard. But there's more than meets the eye. Former chairman of Sumitomo, Isoda, and another accomplice have arranged illegal loans to stock speculators, and their mistakes come back to haunt them when Sumitomo writes off 100 billion yen in bad loans. The bank is left with irreparable damage. But that's not even the worst of it. The public increasingly perceives banks as enemies. As a result, there's an increased incidence of violence against bank employees. At one point, Soto Tatsumi, Sumitomo Bank's CEO, receives 4 death threats, and then it happens. When their Nagoya branch manager is shot dead to the head, the bank realizes it's time to take matters seriously. How to save a failing bank. Step 1. Write off bad loans amount to tens of billions of dollars. Step 2. Accept a massive capital injection by the government. Step 3. With your newly filled war chest, buy a competitor. This is what Sumitomo does, buying 400-year-old Mitsui Bank in order to reach its final development stage. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, the bank that now owns a piece of every sector in the world. Merging the two banks doesn't bring an instant solution to their ailment. They have written off billions of dollars combined. All they need is a little extra capital boost. And guess where this capital injection comes from? Goldman Sachs. Remember the $500 million investment into Goldman Sachs? Yeah, they need that money back now. So they sell about $500 million worth of Goldman Sachs shares to raise funds to write off bad loans. However, that is not enough, and so they turn to their subsidiaries with one goal: a reverse merger. During my time working in M&A, I was able to get into reverse mergers quite a bit. They are acquisitions of public companies by private companies in order to raise funds for the public company while bypassing the lengthy and complicated process of going public. So SMBC looks to Wakashio Bank, a small subsidiary bank, but one with enough assets and profits to get the ball rolling. The successful reverse merger dissolves Wakashio Bank and provides SMBC with the much needed resources to grow. And from there, the sky becomes the limit. SMBC creates a raft of measures to put it on a collision path with world dominance.
We have 40% share in United States today. We have been dealing with almost all the major oil and gas sectors in the world.
First on the list is strategic acquisition of promising companies.
Citigroup will transfer up to 200 bankers over to Sumitomo Mitsui Financial.
They go on to buy Citigroup Japan, becoming SMBC Nikko Securities. This becomes the third largest securities brokerage firm in Japan. They then go on to buy the world's largest aircraft leasing company, RBS Aviation Capital, with a total of 453 aircraft and a further 200 Boeing and Airbus airplanes. They also own several banks in East Asia, are involved in several blockchain-related initiatives, AI, and even the Tokyo Disneyland. But they didn't get to this point by mere luck. Behind those big glass wall rooms, they have been collaborating with a dangerous gang. The government believes that they've been working with the Yakuza, despite a law that restricts them from doing so, while they're not indicted, and respond by compiling their own list of Yakuza members that should not work with the bank. Their image is tainted. But even before they recover from this, another bombshell drops.
Tokyo prosecutors have arrested 4 senior employees at SMBC Nikko Securities over alleged stock manipulation.
SMBC Nikko Securities employees are arrested for alleged insider trading. They leaked information on tender offers regarding a buyout bid by a wine trading house before the bid is listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. The deputy head of investment banking is arrested and sentenced to 2 years in prison. As a result, the Tokyo Stock Exchange fines SMBC Nikko Securities 80 million yen, a drop in the ocean for this conglomerate. But these large corporations have a way of shielding themselves from collapse, and SMBC has mastered this art. The bank now has total assets of $1.9 trillion with offices in more than 40 countries. They own over 800 subsidiaries covering every sector of the world economy, from energy to media companies, supermarket chains, automotives, and even insurance and other banks. Whatever you know of Blackrock, SMBC is their Asian replica, and this is just their origin story. More is coming. Now, if you enjoyed this video about the Blackrock of Japan, why don't you enjoy our video about the real Blackrock and finance gigachad Larry Fink at the top of this monster?